Now, the moment that we've been all waiting for. Time to get this conference kicked off, all going. So I'd like to warmly welcome on stage Mr. Al Gore to give the opening keynote.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I want to acknowledge President Niinisto. Thank you very much for your words. And may I add my voice to all those who are saying congratulations to Finland on 100 years of independence. The celebration starts today and continues through next week. It's wonderful to be here, and I want to congratulate not only Marianne, but your incoming CEO of Slush next year, Andreas Sari, Ilkka Kirimaki, the Slush chair, and the entire Slush team. These volunteers are really going all out to make your experience wonderful here at Slush, and they really take pride in doing that. Prince William, the Duke of Cambridge, is here, and Prince Daniel from Sweden. Let me acknowledge my colleagues from Generation Investment Management who are also here, Anthony Wolf and Hans Meen and Shalini Rao. So it is an honor for me to be able to speak to this gathering. I want to talk to you a little bit about the state of the world and how investing and business and entrepreneurship plays an absolutely key role in helping us solve the global ecological crisis, and particularly the global climate crisis. We have an unusual situation in our world now, and most of you are part of a generation that is helping to solve this crisis, and I want to thank you for that. But I want to tell you at the outset of my comments here that my purpose in being here is not just to entertain you or to try to give you information, much of which you already know, but my purpose is to recruit you to be a part of the solution to the global climate crisis. Many people are not yet fully aware, outside of your generation, of the situation that we face. There are only three questions that have to be addressed where the climate crisis is concerned. The first is, do we really have to change? Must we change? The second is, can we change? And that's equally important, because if we have to change but we don't have the ability to change, that's a formula for depression and despair. And the third and most important question is, will we change? Now, I'm going to speak for just a moment about the reasons why we really do have to change. And some of the evidence of why we have to change is known to you, but it carries with it the risk of making people feel a little depressed, and that can be paralyzing. But the answer to the second and third questions really bring a lot of optimism and hope and inspiration, because we do have the ability to change, and I personally am convinced that we will change in time. But first of all, why do we have to change? Today, we will put into the atmosphere of the Earth 110 million tons of man-made global warming pollution. And as you know, that traps heat and changes the climate balance and brings with it a lot of disruptions to the climate system that has led to the flourishing of human civilization over the last 10 millennia. And we're seeing the stronger storms, the stronger wind speeds, the big downpours and the floods and mudslides, and we're seeing the big droughts and the fires that come with the droughts. Portugal, some of you may have been at the Lisbon conference earlier this year. Portugal is one of many countries, including my own in California, that have experienced these historic fires. Russia a few years ago had the biggest fires in their history. And we're seeing now the impact on agriculture and the food crisis. We're seeing tropical diseases moving northward, and we're seeing the melting of ice, principally in Greenland and Antarctica. Yesterday in Greenland, temperatures were several degrees above freezing at the end of November. This is extremely unusual. And of course, the melting of ice in Greenland and Antarctica raises the specter of much more rapid sea level rise, particularly threatening areas of South Asia and North America and the low-lying Pacific Islands. And there is the threat of political disruption that comes with the climate crisis. Here in Europe, we have already seen farther south some political disruptions due in part to climate refugees coming from the Middle East and North Africa. There was a prediction last month that climate refugees, up to 1 billion, will come in this century because the climate changes are making some areas of the Middle East and North Africa literally unlivable in the future. At least that's what the scientists are warning us would occur if we do not make significant changes rapidly. So for these and many other reasons, yes, we really do have to change. We face an existential threat to the future of human civilization. And even saying those words causes some people to shut down and say, no, it can't possibly be so dangerous. But we've quadrupled our population in the last 100 years, and we have acquired tools that are far more powerful than any previous generation could have even imagined. And we now still, too often in the world, use a way of short-term thinking that focuses on the immediate future ahead without taking into account the longer-term consequences of the decisions that we're making in the present. We have to change all that. But here is the good news. We do now have the tools to solve the climate crisis. We just have to use them. We have to implement them. Here's some of the optimistic news. Those of you who are expert in fields of technology understand very well that the cost reduction curves in computer chips and mobile phones and flat screen TVs and genomic sequencing and machine learning are proceeding at an unbelievably rapid pace. The good news is that is also happening with the development of solar photovoltaic electricity, with wind power, now with the reducing prices for batteries and energy storage and electric vehicles. India just announced that within 13 years, 100% of all their new cars and trucks will have to be electric vehicles. Norway and Denmark are phasing out the internal combustion engine in only 7 years. Volvo just announced that next year's models will be all electric and hybrid. We're seeing dramatic advances in sustainable agriculture and sustainable forestry and sustainable fishing. And 2 years ago this coming December, in the Paris Agreement, 197 nations, all of the nations of the world, agreed unanimously that we will set the goal of net zero global warming pollution by mid-century or as soon thereafter as possible. And I know you're thinking about the United States and Donald Trump. I'm not going to make any partisan comments here, but I do want to mention that legally, the first date upon which the U.S. could even withdraw from the Paris Agreement happens to be the day after the next U.S. presidential election in 2020. So, and if there is a new president, excuse me for a moment, then a new president could simply give 30 days notice and the U.S. would be right back in the Paris Agreement. And in the meantime, many of our largest states like California and New York and many others, and hundreds of our cities and thousands of our business leaders have announced we are still in the Paris Agreement. Hashtag we got this. And the predictions now are that the United States will meet and exceed the commitments it made in Paris, regardless of what President Trump tweets. So the United States is a part of this global movement. We are going to win this struggle. We are going to succeed. But the remaining question is whether we will win it in time. And may I say, that's where you come in. Because your generation, and I know I'm the oldest person in this room, and I know there are a few that are older than the median age here, but there are investors here. There are entrepreneurs here. There are business executives here, leaders of civil society. This is the challenge of your lifetime. May I ask you to accept this challenge and be a part of meeting this moment in history when the human race has to solve the climate crisis and the ecological crisis of which it's a part. Soon the weight of plastic in the oceans may exceed the weight of all the fish. We have to stop that. We have to manage our forests and our topsoil and our groundwater in an intelligent way with a regard to what the needs of the future are. So that's where entrepreneurs come in. And that's where investors have to be involved in seeking out the good business plans that not only make a profit, but make a profit in a sustainable way that does not sacrifice the future in pursuit of very short-term profits. The generation that most of you are a part of is bringing a new consciousness to our world. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. But that new consciousness has to be matched up with intelligent business decisions. And you know that sustainability plays a crucial role in the business world. It's no longer appropriate to simply focus on the numbers that come across the Bloomberg screens or the regular quarterly reports. We have to be aware of the impact that business has on the communities where they operate, on their own employees, on the communities affected by their supply chains, on the impact of ethics in the executive suites. And when you go to work for a company, you should want, and most of you do want, to work for an enterprise and a startup that is about making profits, yes, and good incomes, yes, but is also about making the world a better place. And those in more established businesses are already finding out that if they want to recruit the best and the brightest and the most promising young men and women coming out of universities, coming from the startup world, they have to give them the feeling and the reality that the purpose of that business is not only profit, but also to maintain an awareness of how business can make the world a better place. And that, by the way, is good business. I speak to you as a climate activist, but I also speak to you as an investor with 15 years of experience in seeking out companies that fit the model that I have just mentioned to you. Generation Investment Management, 15 years old, is based 100% on sustainability. We have found amazing companies like Proterra, the leading electric bus maker, Mcopa, installing solar panels on the roofs of grass huts and small structures in East Africa, like Gogoro, the leading electric scooter company in Asia now, Cibo, which has mapped the productivity of every farm on the entire planet to give that information to farmers so that they don't waste fertilizer and don't overuse these insecticides and pesticides, but rather be a part of the food revolution. There are many companies here, I know because I've looked at the list, that are part of the future of agriculture and food so that we can have healthier food and healthier soil and healthier forests at the same time. Sustainability is the wave of the future. And here's what I think I have learned during these 15 years of investing. The world is now in the early stages of a sustainability revolution. It has the magnitude of the Industrial Revolution, but the speed of the digital revolution. It is sweeping the world. And unlike the Industrial Revolution, it's not starting in one corner of England and then spreading slowly to other geographies. It is being jump-started in the developing and the developed countries alike, simultaneously. We are seeing many CEOs and executive teams being given the ability to manage electrons and atoms and molecules with the same precision that the ICT companies have used in managing bits of information. As a result, we're seeing the decoupling of CO2 emissions and economic progress. We are seeing a transformation of the way business is done. Consumers want it. Employees want it. Executive teams want it. And now we have the ability, because it's being driven, the sustainability revolution is being driven by the new digital tools that many of you have been helping to create. And Finland, by the way, has been fighting way above its weight in this new digital and technology economy. It's really astounding what is going on here in Helsinki and in Finland. It is really something to be proud of. But these new digital tools, including the Internet of Things, including machine learning, are really transforming the nature of business and the impact that business and industry has on the global environment. So I want to ask you to make a conscious commitment to be a part of this sustainability revolution. Politicians and policymakers have been slow to confront this, although in the Paris Agreement, as I mentioned, this was an historic breakthrough. But here's the truth. All of the commitments made by every country in the world, even if they are all completely complied with, still do not add up to enough to solve this sustainability crisis. We have faced for 40 years now, since I first got involved in fighting the climate crisis, the same situation. The maximum that seems politically feasible still falls short of the minimum that will comply with the laws of physics to save the future of our civilization. 16 of the 17 hottest years ever measured with instruments have been since 2001. The hottest of all was last year. Yesterday, we saw record high temperatures in many places around the world. This is a continuing crisis. The accumulated amount of man-made global warming pollution in the atmosphere today traps as much extra heat as would be released by 400,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every single day on the surface of this planet. It's a big planet, but that's a lot of energy. And most of it's going into the oceans and disrupting the water cycle, and that is really threatening our future. But again, we have the ability to confront this successfully and solve it. And this sustainability revolution happens to be the greatest business and investing opportunity in the entire history of the world. You are entrepreneurs and investors and business executives and leaders at a moment in history that is filled with optimism and opportunity if you will make up your mind to seize it. But please do not lose track of this larger context. You will have an easier time attracting the teams that you need, attracting the investors that you need, and finding the business opportunities that you are seeking if you couple your ambition and your energy and drive with a consciousness of what your impact is on the world as a whole and on the communities where you choose to do business. So again, I am asking you to be a part of this sustainability revolution. I have seen in the world of politics and in the world of business what a tremendous difference a single individual can make. I see them, some of you here have already done so. So we have to change, we can change, we will change if we have the kind of commitment that I'm asking you to make here. Generation puts out a sustainability trends report each year, and I recommend it to you. But whatever sector of the marketplace you are targeting, keep in mind the demands of sustainability. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to be a part of Slush. I'm excited to be in Finland on this beginning of the 100-year anniversary and a part of the 10th year of the Slush conference. I heard that the slush music and slush technology was great just before we began today. I hope that you have successful meetings with investors. I'll be meeting with some of you, and Generations team will as well, and you are making amazing connections with one another. Final point, I realize that some are tempted to doubt that we as human beings have the will to change and meet this moment in history successfully. Let me just leave you with what I've learned. The will to change is itself a renewable resource. Thank you very much. Have a great Slush conference. Thank you.